All right. Hello, Wesley. Hi, everyone. Um, so, uh, yeah. No, because there was already a position on the board. Yes, so I didn't want to get answers accidentally, but I'll open the chat at the end of class, so no worries. Thank you. Oh, I probably should get rid of that background, actually. Yeah, it's a good reminder. Yeah, I should not have it. Okay. Um, Yeah, because well, that's for a different thing. Yeah, just probably shouldn't. Okay. So anyway, um so this position was I want to start off with the game Nakamura against yeah, Nakamura against what's his name? Mishra. So here in this position, and yeah, Wesley is correct, yeah. Uh we should play the move knight before here. Because then you're kind of um going rook c7, and then it's like very hard to break through. This is what Nakamura said in an interview. It makes sense. Black played this move instead, and now white took on d5. Uh, and I think he also said he should have taken with the e pawn, but took with the c pawn. And now white, actually has legitimate chances to press, and Hikaru for a long time was making the most of them. So the question is, how would you start with white here? All right, so we have so people are pretty much getting the right idea. We want to try to do something with rook b1. It's better to play rook b1 immediately because if you have both rooks on the board, it's going to be easier to eventually target their weaknesses. So it's better to just play rook b1 straight away. If you take first, um, I'll go king g8, and then after something like b4, I can even go rook c4. Yeah, and then, yeah, you're not really gonna have winning chances because it's only one weakness, right? On e6. And even if you play b4, I can play rook c4, I'm guessing. Or maybe even takes and then here. Um, so yeah, it's very important to actually keep both rooks on the board. Now, probably Mishra overlooked this move. He might have just thought this um fizzles into a draw. He might have not really thought bishop. He might have not thought much of bishop d5, right? He might have thought it's kind of nothing, but it turned out actually it's not nothing because white is abandoning the c file where there's not much there. It's easy to guard the f2 pawn with like king f3, rook g2, right? And meanwhile, white can create initiative. And with both rooks on the board, we have to kind of worry about like this weakness, potentially this weakness, and potentially the g7 weakness. Yes, and as Wesley pointed out, more space on the king side is a plus. So rook b1 immediately very important to keep rooks on the board. So king g8, b4, and here black played another inaccuracy, played rook c4. They should have taken and played rook c6. A bit passive, but then after rook a8, this This is apparently drawable. Something like this, and then king f7. And apparently this position is holdable, but it's very hard to go for this, obviously. So Mishra played rook c4, takes. And here Hikaru made an inaccuracy. This one, yeah, at this point it might already be losing. It's borderline. It's 1 point something. It's probably losing, it would be my guess, but not 100% sure. But certainly, yeah, White had a big advantage here. So, so Phineas is, I think, the only one who got it actually so far. Phineas, do you want to unmute yourself and explain your answer? I guess I guess not. All right. Well, yeah, the correct move is rook b6. Um, so here king f7, rook a1, here. Yeah, and then king f3, rook g1. White is like winning here. Yeah, rook b6 is a pretty strong move. Also, if you take, now these pawns are, one of them will fall, right? And black's king will be quite weak as well. So, and after rook c6, you could play here, and I think it's rook b8 here, check somewhere, and then king f3. So it is a little bit tricky. You have to do some geometry. But rook b6 wins in a very nice way. Some people gave rook b7. Some people gave rook b7. If we play rook b7, I could go rook c7, which is a little bit of a problem. And then here it seems like black is fine, right? Because if you check, then king f7, if rook b6, yeah. So there's no direct win here. Now Nakamura played king f3, which makes, I would say, the most sense. But oh wow. It makes the most sense, but Hikaru said he in his you know recap that he missed the black's next move. So what should black play here? Yeah, rook b4. And white's still better, but now black has this incredible defense rook b8. And black has enough to make a draw here. Instead we had g6. And here rook a8 was a mistake. He should have gone here. And black can draw this. So you play rook a8. Hold on a second. Rook b6 probably. Yeah, exactly. Seventh rank defense. Yeah, black's okay. All right, so instead of that, now let's go back. Black played there. And now, how do we win here for white? So here Hikaru made a mistake with rook b7. The correct move is rook b8, rook h8. I think Hikaru thought king f6 takes g5 is maybe not so clear, but then takes rook e7. Yeah, this position is winning for white. Um, yeah, eventually white wins this. So, well, isn't rook b7 more precise? I think this is like a more clinical move, right? It looks like it's a move that just deprives black of any counterplay, but it turns out, oh, isn't rook b7 more precise? Well, I think it's the same thing, right? King f6. It's the same thing, I think, more or less. But yeah, white played rook b7 immediately, which allows which defense for Mishra. Sorry. Yeah, so the correct idea is a rook a2, which Mishra found. Um King f8, of course you take. If you play rook a6, rook g7 here, um well, I guess white can always go back to this rook b8, rook h8, right? Or yeah, so let's see. So yeah, yeah, you can try to bring the king in the game, right? And then you're kind of a little bit stuck. And yeah, if you play a rook a8, then I think this is the easiest is just rook e7, right? So yeah, so the only way to draw is rook a2 because it creates immediate counterplay. And Hikaru said he overlooked this move. Um, so um, yeah, so rook a6, yeah, I go king c3, king b4. That would be like the way you play here. Because the thing is, if this and this, the king cannot go further, right? Because it gets stopped with rook b4. Whereas if you have this position, um, oh, actually, well, maybe it's still. Oh yeah, you can do this and then king b4, I think. I'm guessing you're winning here. Let me just double check. Oh, maybe not. Well, it's hard to say. Yeah, I guess no, rook e7 is easier. King g8, rook e6, rook f2. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's still a little tricky. So maybe rook a6 is like a decent practical try, but rook a2, of course, is just better. Yeah, and it holds the draw. So after rook a2, white gave check, king h8, rook e7, king g8, rook e6, rook f2, rook here, king there, king f6, rook takes, g5, takes, rook d7. Wait, I think this is already, wait, hold on, Mishra. Oh, no, it's not, yeah. King takes h6, rook d5, king g6, rook e5. Yeah, and here, yeah, Mishra made a mistake. He needed to play king f6, stopping d5 if rook e8, king here. But like, okay, it's still a tricky endgame even after that. Like, he has to be very precise. Then like rook b2, rook b4 only moves to kind of like cut off the king, right? So very, very, very tough, I would say. Yeah, so Mishra played rook a2. It kind of makes sense to go on the long side, to go as far as away to check the king. But now here, white is winning. How does white win here? So here, the only way to win is d5. King c4, king f6, rook c5, rook a3 holds. And d5 wins because after let's say rook a4, d6, rook a6, rook d5, rook a8, d7, rook d8, king c4, white gets the king in time. If you play king there, then white gets in with king d4, king e5. And after rook a3, you're also winning. So yeah, white played e4. Does rook e6 work instead of d5? I don't think so. Let's check. Pretty sure it was only d5, but let's check. Yeah, rook a4. Yeah. Yeah, rook a4 cuts off the king. And I mean, okay, there might still be some pitfalls, but it's a draw objectively. Um, so white played e4, takes, king f5, rook e8. Now, I think Hikaru might have thought it's winning for him, but here Mishra found again a nice defensive move, which Yes, rook a4. Exactly. Cutting off the king. If d5, you have this. If king c3, we have this. And it's the white can't really make progress here. So yeah, rook a4, very strong move. Yeah, and the game ended in a draw after that. Rook a3 would have lost because then the king gets in, and then you have like you're gonna be able to push the pawn to d5, and the white's king is not gonna be cut off. So even though you could see that both sides made mutual blunders, mutual mistakes, it was very tricky. And imagine having to play this with low time, right? Like they were both obviously in time pressure, so it's pretty tough. Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why Hikaru has been contemplating about retirement all the time, because in the past, maybe his instincts were correct like 80 to 90% of the time, but now it's like maybe 50-50, and he's like often choosing the wrong one. Right. And that's probably why. But he's still playing so well, even despite that. So it is what it is. All right, let's look at some other interesting moments. The next one is Caruana against Robson. Now, this is probably like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And this example shows why we should not resign. It's too early, right? Why we should try to play out games to the bitter end, more or less. Because you really just never know. People could mess up, even good players. Now, I know this was a blitz game, but even blitz games still, I mean, it's like this position was so this was the position, right? Like black is up a piece and a pawn, right? With queens traded off, right? No attack, right? So like it really looks like white should just resign, right? Like that's seems like a respectful thing to do. I know it's blitz, but it is Ray Robson, right? But like if Ray Robson doesn't win this in blitz, then I think it's possible that at 2000 sometimes doesn't win in classical, right? So you have to keep playing, right? You have to look for your chances till the end. That's why it's better not to resign games until you've really exhausted all your possibilities. So, but Fabi was already planning to resign, but he's like, okay, let's just play a few moves. Like he has a passed pawn, so whatever. Here I thought like Rook D2 is like the easiest, honestly. Like I don't see why not, because here he's winning a second piece, King F3, just F5. So that I thought is like super easy, right? But okay, Knight C5, fine. But now, okay, he's getting a little bit passive. Knight F3. It's not just that it's -11. -11 could be like sometimes a position where there's only one way to win, right? It could be like some study, some combination, right? But this is like it's not about -11 or -6. It's just the fact that it's up a piece and a pawn with no compensation, right? That's the bigger point than the fact that it's like numbers. Knight here, like here, the easiest would have been just trade the rooks or the knight, right? But yeah, somehow Ray just got a little bit passive, right? Allowed this black to push this pawn. And okay, like this position is already getting a little harder to win. Of course, it's still completely winning. I guess like knight d8 here, knight c6. But yeah, here it's already a little trickier. And yeah, eventually he spoiled it to a draw, little by little, right? So the point is like things do happen, and that's why you got to play it out, right? Like you never know. Uh Here's another game where, like the winner had a miraculous escape. Um Carissa Yip against Thalia Cervantes. The first game in their classical match. Obviously, Carissa is like completely losing. Um and here White played bishop c4. No, this was classical. This game was classical. I think Thalio had like maybe 3 to 5 minutes here. I don't remember. But yeah, so Carissa just played bishop c6 and Black has two very easy wins. How does Black win here? And again, it would be so easy to just like resign and like lose hope. But well, bishop d5 is the move that Black played. But Black can play queen e7 or queen e5 with forced mate, right? Just mate in three. Maybe Thalia forgot, missed queen f1. She only looked at rook d1. Again, people miss stuff, right? Like, I mean, sometimes we just have brain farts, right? That happens. Um, that's why, you gotta fight it out until the very end. Because you never know. Humans are not perfect, right? Even very strong players, right? That's why you gotta fight it out and gotta not be afraid of stronger players, right? Because you never know in one particular game, one particular moment, they could, everyone can have a very bad moment, right? Look at Ding Liren against Gukesh last game, right? Ding blundered a fairly simple tactic, right? Which I think almost all of you, or maybe all of you, would find it, right? Like if that would be a puzzle. But that's chess, right? There are nerves, there's all these factors. You just gotta fight it out, especially in a tournament. This is Aronian against the Sevian. Um, and this one, it's gonna be a white move. So the question is, where should the king go? Where should the white king go and why? Yeah, so king a4 was what was played and bishop d6 and black won. So yeah, of course king a2 is correct. It looks dangerous, but white can survive the checks, right? All right, very nice. All right, now I want to show you some attacking games also from the American Cup. Let's start with this Arena Crush game against Atusa, Nakamura's wife. Uh, so so first question is, what happens if bishop d7? What would you play after bishop d7? What do you think? All right, you guys are thinking a lot like me, like student, like coach. Here's what I mean by that. If you look at the database, you will see that d5 has been played in 50 games from here, including my name, first one that pops up. I'm the highest rated player who played this lemon. Um, and the reason it doesn't work is because actually it's so first of all, I'm very happy that most of you know this D5 idea in general in IQPs, right? But the problem is here, when everything trades off, it looks like white just wins easily, but then here black has a pretty rude, shocking idea. Bishop G4. Yeah, and suddenly it's black who's better in the endgame, right? Because here, rook D8, and yeah, so here I was yeah, I played this game against Shabalov. I kind of just overlooked my opponent's idea, and somehow I thought I'm winning. It's very naive of me. And yeah, Bishop G5 takes rook D. Wait, I showed this? I don't remember ever showing this exact example. I did show D5 idea in general, but yeah, in this particular case, it's actually not very good, right? So you have to always double check, right? You have to consider all of their possibilities. So yeah, I fell for that trap and some others. So yeah, the main point is not to play D5. I mean, you can play Bishop G5. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. Or you can play Queen F3. Oh, it was over a year ago. I see. Yeah, so there are many moves, but yeah, main thing is don't go d5. But yeah, anyway, so bishop d7 was a better move. Knight d5 was what was played in the game. Atusa was not so familiar with this, and now Arena found a way to get an advantage. How should white play this? Yeah, so uh yeah, so the best move is rook d3, rook lift. Right? That is the drawback of the move knight d5 is that you can play a rook lift. Rook d3, rook h3, right? And then white is sort of winning. How long ago was my game? That was like 2016 Continental. So 9 years ago. Yeah, so yeah, rook d3. Um yeah, everything else is not so clear, right? Bishop g5, maybe I can go h6. Maybe I can also try to exchange pieces like that. Um g4, I think I can also probably just take and go knight d5. Doesn't look too bad for black, right? Um Yeah, but rook d3 is queen f3 is okay, but I think yeah, this is the most straightforward because yeah, like so there are two attacking ideas in the IQP, right? Like the main one is like d5, but then if they block d5 very firmly, then a rook or a queen lift is like very often an idea. And yeah, if you can make a rook lift work, it's often just a really nice idea in IQP. And Irina is very good in her classical development. She knows her classics very well, so she found this idea. And Yeah, exactly. Won a very convincing game. Rook d1, of course, yeah, you cannot take on d4. Um, Now, knight e4 is a very nice move because after takes, white does not take back. White plays this, and yeah, if this, then we have takes rook f3. So queen d5 takes. Here, here. Takes here. Yeah, and white is winning in this endgame because extra pawn plus better pawn structure, more active rook. And also white can get their king active quicker than black. And white did a good job converting this endgame. Could show the full game, but yeah, white converted this pretty easily. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Alice Lee playing white against Nazi Pekidze. That was the first game of their first match. And okay, what would you do as white here? So, c5 is, yeah, the best move here. In fact, it's still theory, apparently. Yeah, just blunt the bishop. Very typical idea. Now, it really seems like knight e5 also stops c5, but does it? What would you do as black here? So yeah, so c5 is correct. And then let's say we play d5, which is kind of the main idea for white. How would black play in after that? Well, if you play rook d8 first, the problem is c5 is. Oh, actually, um, yeah, maybe not actually. Yeah, yeah, maybe then bishop g5. I don't know. Yeah, rook d8 is also interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not bad rook d8, but okay, oh, b4 is an interesting move. Bishop takes. Oh wow, this is quite amazing. Sacking a pawn to try to trap the bishop. Yeah, that's kind of tough. Yeah. Yeah, so rook d8 it's almost equalizing as well, but c5, d5, well, if we play b5, I think d6 might be pretty strong. Uh yeah, I think so. Because after yeah, I think this is very strong. Because after this, d7, queen here, maybe okay, maybe to be honest, maybe just take. So winning a pawn. Yeah, they're a little cramped, yeah. But b5 probably. Yes, bishop d6 is correct, yeah. The only move to get a decent position. Yeah, and now the knight is attacked and you're getting counterplay on d5. And then in a position like this, well, the pawn on d5 might become pretty weak. So bishop d6 is a very important move. Um, And here you have knight d5 actually. So it's you're kind of freeing up a little bit. And after this takes knight h5. Yeah, so it's worth noting the pawn on d5 can also become a little bit of a weakness. So yeah, anyway, so after knight e5, black just played here. They should have played c5 because after this, white did get c5 in and then knight c4, and that was bad news. And then white won this. White had a good technique being up in exchange, unlike Alice's other opponent in a different match. So yeah, Alice is pretty good with nerves. That's why she was able to win it in the end. There's also an interesting opening, I thought, in the Aronian game against Sevian. So white to play. Well, okay, whatever. Kids against stars, I don't think it really matters so much. But yeah, the thing with Alice is that she's a very good there's a very good player. Um I think her chess understanding still can use some work, but I think as a player she's excellent. She's excellent nerves, excellent sporting qualities, good time management, um good psychology. Yeah, just sometimes her, the chess, the actual chess part could still use some work. Because yeah, like there were some games I didn't like some decisions she was making. Um, but okay. Uh, it's work in progress for most of us. Um, yeah, so Queen G4 is correct. Um, because if we play Bishop takes, then knight, well, then I can think we could take Queen H5, G6, knight takes, and knight f6. And then, yeah, the G6 knight is kind of in trouble. And knight f7 doesn't really work either. King f7, there's nothing special. So, but Queen G4 just gives white a nice advantage. So white missed that. White played knight f3, knight f6, bishop g5, h6 here, here. And here white had another chance to get a nice advantage, which they missed. How should white continue here? All right, yeah, very good. You guys are, yeah, f4 is the most logical. So you can take back the pawn. Because if we play rook e1, I guess I can take, and go bishop d7. So I think it's pretty important to be able to take with the f pawn. Either you keep that monstrous knight on e5, or you take back with the f pawn and then you ignite your attack, right? Here, white was much better. Yeah, white missed it, and then here, after queen e2, black could have equalized. So, and then, okay, there were mistakes later in this game as well. It wasn't the cleanest game, but I thought that it's kind of notable how white gets an advantage. To those of you who play Alapin, it's kind of a useful game, I thought. And a lot of kids I know play Alapin, so. All right, this one is Thalia Cervantes against Carissa Yip. This was their second game. Carissa Yip just needed a draw to advance. She still played a pretty sharp opening. Um, and yeah, here white took on c5, attacking black's rook. What would you do here? Okay, so some people are, hold on. So a lot of people are giving interesting answers. Um, Rook b3. Yeah, rook b3, g5. Some people are saying g5. c3. Interesting. c3, I don't really see the point if they just take. G5, okay, G5 is interesting. G5, I mean, I could probably take the rook. G4, take F3. Seems like it's okay. Um, yeah, so rook b3 is a move. Now, it's not actually necessarily the best engine move. Okay, it's like one of the best. It's like the engine thing says you can play this like 0.18 for black's favor, whereas this is objectively equal 0, 0. But good luck actually finding the 0, 0, 0. It's like practically speaking very hard. So I think practically speaking, rook b3 is by far the best move, right? And this is like Carissa's very good creativity, kind of showcases in this game. Because after rook b3, white has literally only one way to not be losing. So let's see if we can try to find. Again, not just one move, please. Try to, this is a hard puzzle. Try to go deeper here. All right, I want to give more people time to think because it's kind of hard. Hmm. Okay, I will go over some of the first moves. So, bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, f3. I guess it is possible, but black should be much better here. Um, yeah, so it's playable, but it is worse for white. So yeah, I guess that would be the second best move. Bishop takes d5. It's kind of like a bailout, but of course, yeah, you would rather not have to play like that. So okay, so if you play queen takes c4, rook takes yeah, queen takes c4. Let's see. Queen c4, rook f3. G takes f3, queen e8 is pretty nasty. And then we have like queen h5, knight f4 coming up. So let's say here, and then knight f4. And black sort of has a winning attack here. So that also doesn't quite work. So let's go all the way back. What other moves were suggested? Hopefully didn't miss anything. Um, All right, yeah, I don't think I missed anything. So, all right, so bishop takes f8 is wait, queen c3. What do you mean queens? Oh, no, but queen c3, rook takes c3. Oh, rook fe1. Okay, rook fe1 was mentioned, but then we take knight f4, rook e3, queen e8. Yeah, that should be lost. Let's see. Yeah. So because queen comes over there, sometimes to h5, right? So there's like problems. All right, so anyway, so rook b3, bishop f8 is actually the only move to equalize. I would say this would be the second best move if you really think you're losing after bishop f8. This would be the bailout. Now, the thing is, like, white needed to win this game, right? So it made sense that white, because like here, it's very hard to imagine like winning this for white, right? So, white tried to do this, and now we have rook f3. And this is where it's like, again, only move to draw. So let's see if you guys could find it. All right, I think Samuel Gu has gotten the answer. Let's see. Yeah, Queen e2 run is tempting, but it allows a very beautiful combination for black that black can win the very nice sequence of moves. Yeah, sure, give it the whole line. Why does this lose? Actually, rook g3, knight f4 does not work because I can take with the f pawn. Right? That's the problem. Yes, knight f4, queen takes f3 forced, and then knight e2 first. And then it's essentially mate. Yeah. So this is pretty nice. Yeah, queen e2, knight f4 is pretty nice. Um, b wait, wait, sorry, b3? Wait, what do you which b3 are you talking about? Uh, yeah, I don't understand b. Oh, here b3? Oh, okay. Wait, so maybe king. No, rook takes. Yeah, maybe rook c3 and stuff. Yeah, and then knight f4. Probably too slow. I'm very worst comes to worst, I can get the bishop, and it's gonna be two pieces for a rook, right? Let's see what else is there. What other moves people gave? Let's just see. Um, hold on, because it's so easy to miss. There's so many people here. So rook dc1. Rook dc1. I'm guessing. Okay. I'm just gonna turn on the engine because I don't have time to think. Yeah, I guess knight f4, queen takes, knight h3. Ah, rook g3. All right, yeah, nice, yeah. But okay, to be honest, here you can even just king f8 and then knight f4. Even this is kind of nice. Yeah, and then you take on f2. See, did I miss something? Yeah, if you play g takes Sorry. If you play G takes F3, that was in the game, right? We'll check it later. Um, Bishop C5 here. Knight F4 also wins. Yeah, so let's just go over all the variations. So Bishop C5, Knight F4. You're saying King H1 here, but Knight G2, I guess. Okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry, it's getting confusing. A lot of lines. Um, okay, so anyway, so Bishop C5 does not work because Knight F. Oh, after Rook C1. Okay. Rook C1. Rook C1 I'll take here. And after this I'll go Knight F4. Yeah, and then Queen F3 and Knight H3 and stuff. Oh, not okay, Queen C4. Yeah, but this is like good for black though. Two pieces for a rook, right? Yeah, anyway, we kind of have to wrap up now, but yeah, maybe, yeah. But then you would rather just take on T5 here if you're gonna like suffer or something. Right? I mean, this is at least not lost. But yeah, anyway, so bishop here, rook here. Yeah, everything loses, right? Here it loses to Queen E8, Queen G6, quite brilliant. Um, um, this one loses to Knight F4, takes, and then like D4. No, sorry, this is the draw. Sorry, this is the draw. Bishop G6, G7. And now black loses if they go king takes G7. G takes F3, Knight F4, D5, Queen E8. But now you have King H1. And now after Queen H5, you have check and Rook G3. Right? That's why we took on G7. That's the idea. So it's very tricky. Yeah, like good luck finding that over the board, right? Especially low on time with nerves and stuff. Yeah, and if Queen E8, Bishop F6 here, G3. So it's like very hard move to find because there's so many choices. So Knight F4, D5, ED, here, here, and this is somehow a draw, some perpetual, some crazy position. So yeah, so I think it's one of those things that practically speaking, it's the best move for sure, right? Because, you know, good luck finding all this, navigating through all these complications if you're white, right? So that's why I like players like Carissa or like have good practical value, right? She might not always be objectively playing the best moves, right? But I think there's something to be said for challenging opponent practically, right? Like making them make very difficult decisions. Yeah, exactly. Rook G1, Rook G. Yeah, it's very hard. So Rook B3 is if you see the idea, you know, should be willing to go for it, right? Because it puts opponent under a lot of pressure. And even if there is some hidden defense, like if you don't see it, chance our opponent won't either, right? It's going to be very tough. So yeah, all right. So um hope you guys enjoyed this class. I'm gonna step away for a little bit, but I open you guys the chat so you guys can discuss whatever you want.